Every Christmas Eve, Alexander Voss did the exact same thing. He stood alone in his glass-walled penthouse overlooking the frozen harbor of Harbor's Edge, Maine, a tumbler of aged whiskey in his hand that he never really drank. Outside, the little town glowed, colored lights strung across fishing boats, children dragging sleds, the smell of pine and wood smoke drifting on the wind. Inside, silence so thick you could hear the ice cracking in his glass. At 37, Alex was the youngest self-made billionaire on the Forbes list, founder of a medical AI empire that saved thousands of lives every day, but couldn't save his own heart. His mansion was a masterpiece of marble and steel. The Christmas tree? 12 feet tall, professionally designed in silver and midnight blue, not a single gift underneath. He told himself he didn't need anyone, but every year he still stood by that window, waiting for something he couldn't name. A sound, a sign, maybe a miracle wearing boots. And then at 9:17 p.m., it finally came. 3 soft knocks that changed his life forever. But when he opened the door, he wasn't ready for who was standing in the snow and what they were about to leave behind. Alex opened the heavy oak door, and the icy air rushed in. There stood a young woman with wind-tangled auburn hair under a faded green beanie, and clutching her hand, a 6-year-old girl in a bright red coat 2 sizes too big, holding up a tin of cookies like it was treasure. "Hi," the little girl chirped. "We're your new neighbors from 2 streets over, and Mom said Christmas isn't Christmas until everybody gets cookies." The woman, exhausted but smiling, added softly, "I'm Ellie Harper. This is Mia. We're sorry it's so late. She wouldn't go to bed until every house on the hill got one." Alex just stared. No one had knocked on his door in 4 years. Mia shoved the tin forward. "They're snickerdoodles. I cracked the cinnamon myself." Something cracked in Alex, too. He stepped aside. It's warmer inside. That night, a little girl in a red coat walked into the coldest house on the hill and accidentally started decorating a heart that had forgotten how to feel. The weeks after were different. Alex started walking downtown every morning, something he'd never done. He found himself at Harbor Brew Cafe, where Ellie worked the early shift. First, it was just coffee. Then it was staying long enough to help Mia with her spelling words while Ellie steamed milk. He learned Ellie was raising Mia alone after her husband walked out. He learned Mia believed hot chocolate fixed everything. And slowly, quietly, the billionaire who owned half the coastline started showing up, simply because 2 people finally made his big house feel too empty when they weren't in it. Then, one frozen February morning, a knock came. But this time it wasn't friendly, and it threatened to take away the only family Alex had ever let in. Ellie opened her door to a stranger in an expensive jacket. Mia's biological father, now with a new job and a new story, had decided he suddenly wanted weekends and summers. He filed for custody. Ellie couldn't afford a lawyer. That night, she sat at Alex's kitchen table, papers shaking in her hands, whispering, "I can't lose her." Alex looked at her for a long, quiet moment and said the words that changed everything. "You won't, not while I'm grieving." 3 months later, a billionaire walked into a tiny courtroom wearing the most expensive suit in Maine, ready to fight for a little girl who wasn't even his yet. The judge asked Alex why a man with no blood tie should have any say. Alex stood tall. "Because, Your Honor, love isn't only blood. I've watched this woman wake up every day and choose joy for her daughter when life gave her every reason not to. I've seen this little girl turn a cold mansion into a home with nothing but candy canes and a smile. If this child needs someone who will never leave, I'm already here. I'm just asking for the paper to prove it." He turned to the man across the aisle. "I'm not trying to erase you. I'm just refusing to abandon her like you did." The gavel fell. Custody denied to the father. Full rights remained with Ellie. And 6 months later, adoption papers were signed, making Alexander Voss something he never thought he'd be again, someone's dad. 1 year later, on the next Christmas Eve, the mansion looked nothing like it used to, and the man by the window wasn't waiting anymore. The tree was now chaotic and perfect. Glitter, popcorn strings, ornaments made from popsicle sticks and too much glue. Laughter bounced off marble floors that once only knew silence. Mia, now 7, stood on the porch in that same red coat, holding a tray of snickerdoodles. She knocked 3 times on her own front door. Alex opened it, pretending to be surprised. "Cookies for the new neighbors?" she asked with a grin. Ellie laughed from behind him, pregnant with their second child, hand resting on her belly. Alex knelt down, kissed the top of Mia's head, and whispered, "Welcome home, kiddo." And for the first time in his life, the billionaire didn't stand alone by the window on Christmas Eve, because the miracle he'd been waiting for had finally walked in and never left. Sometimes the greatest gifts don't come wrapped under a tree. They come knocking on your door wearing hand-me-down coats, carrying slightly burnt cookies, and asking if you're lonely too. Alexander Voss spent years building an empire, but it took a little girl with a red ribbon and a single mom with a brave heart to teach him the only thing that ever really mattered. Family isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one brave enough to knock and the one brave enough to open the door. So this Christmas, if you hear a knock, answer it. You never know whose miracle is standing on the other side. If this story warmed your heart even a little, do me a huge favor. Smash that like button, drop a "Christmas miracles are real" in the comments, and subscribe with notifications on, because every week we bring you brand new, tear-jerking, hope-filled stories just like this one. From our little family to yours, Merry Christmas. We'll see you in the next one. Stay kind, stay hopeful, and keep the door open.